Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into a really powerful idea. It comes from a YouTube transcript from Uddy Grease, and it's this. What I see, hear, and encounter today shapes who I am tomorrow.
That's it. It sounds simple, but it's profound, isn't it?
It really is. We're going to unpack what that means, how these daily, often subtle influences work on us.
Exactly. And it's not just, the big headline events. It's the constant stream, the things we surround ourselves with day in, day out. This source offers some, pretty surprising insights from its perspective.
Okay, so let's start with one of the core themes. Challenges, suffering, but also the power of support. The source talks about Paul encouraging Timothy, and it makes this distinction, saying it's glorious to suffer as a saint for a mission, for God's purpose.
But suffering because of your own, say, laziness or selfishness, that's presented as truly shameful. Paul wasn't ashamed, the text argues, because his suffering was tied to his mission. He stayed true.
Right, staying true to the cause.
And what's really interesting here, I think, is the emphasis on support. Human connection. The source highlights how incredibly hard it is, even on a righteous path, if nobody sees your sincerity.
Ah, that recognition factor.
Yes. Just one person who believes in you, like Timothy or Luke for Paul in this telling.
Yeah.
That can give immense courage, real joy, even facing, the worst.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. It poses that question for all of us, Who are your people? Who supports you when the going gets tough?
Yeah, good question. And this idea of purpose, even through difficulty, it leads right into the next big point, our environment, how much it shapes us.
Oh, definitely. This is where the source gets really direct.
It uses this very clear analogy. He who keeps company with the virtuous becomes virtuous. He who keeps company with the vicious becomes vicious. Simple as that.
Almost like osmosis, isn't it?
Exactly. Like being near red dye makes you red, or near ink makes you black. It frames it as unavoidable.
And that connection is crucial. It's not just background noise. It's an active force. It molds us. This source contrasts that with what it sees in contemporary culture.
Marcus describes how.
As often stimulating, living according to instinct, encouraging indulgence, maybe. And it points to biblical advice, as interpreted here, to actually flee certain things.
Flee, like run away from.
Yeah. Things like sexual immorality, idolatry, what it calls irreverent babble, foolish controversies, that sort of thing. But it's not just avoidance.
Okay.
It also emphasizes seeking out positive influences. Spiritually challenging places like worship services are mentioned specifically, places to actively nurture your spirit.
So it's both defense and offense in a way.
You could say that. It holds up a life of, quote, appropriate self-control and patience as being more qualitative, more valuable, leading to, ultimately, true happiness from its perspective.
Okay, so if we're constantly being influenced, and we should be mindful of what influences us, what does that mean for how we live in the world?
Right. How do you engage? The text uses the metaphor of being light and salt.
In a world described as dark and decaying.
Exactly. And you can't just withdraw. The analogy used is a fish in water. You can't live apart from it.
But the fish isn't salty like the sea.
Precisely. A fish thrives in the salty sea. It even uses the pressure to live freely. So the idea for a person of faith, according to this source, isn't to be steeped in the taste of the world or crushed by its pressures, to live more vibrantly within it. Proclaiming the gospel, as the text puts it, the goal isn't to avoid getting stained by the world.
But to stain the world.
To stain this world with the love of Christ, yeah. Becoming faithful comrades, using the examples of Timothy, Titus, and Paul, rather than getting lost in the surrounding culture, perhaps like Lot's daughters in their story.
Wow. That's a really active stance, a powerful way to think about our daily interactions and the inputs we receive.
It definitely shifts the focus, doesn't it? It leads to this final reflection the source urges. Take a calm look. Where does most of your time go? Your money. What are you really drawing near to day after day?
So the final thought for you listening is, what does being that light and salt look like in your own life? Not just getting through your circumstances, but actually thriving and making a positive difference right where you are.
Something to really mull over.
Indeed. Until our next deep dive.